Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're real excited today. We are enjoying fall and all the great fallishness of the Hallmark Fall into Love, I think is what they call it now. And so we decided it would be fun for a ranking episode this week. We're doing a little different. We are having the best and worst of the fall themed movies for Hallmark because we've been pretty positive, and we thought it'd be fun to throw a little shade, but mostly positive. So we're gonna try this format, see what we think. It should be fun. And I am film critic Grace Wagner. Terry's here.
Hi.
And how you doing? Are you enjoying fall?
Yes, it's finally getting cold.
Yeah,
Breezy nights, which I like.
it's true.
But I don't like, seeing Christmas stuff already for sale because we haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah, and it's like, let us enjoy the fall season.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could keep it all the way through. I mean, with Hallmark, it's even before Halloween that we get our first Christmas movie, of course. But it would be nice if we could at least through Halloween. But we'll enjoy it while we have it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they have changed the name of this season. And for a couple of years, they didn't even hardly do any at all for like 2019, 2020.
Mhm.
20, they barely had anything. I mean, and with the once we got rid of Bill Abbott, the seasons have progressively lost their meaning. And you'll have a movie in the summer and New Year's new movies. You'll have, I mean, it's just all over the place. You have an Ice House movie in the spring. Like it's a mess.
Well,
But
yeah.
but I enjoy the seasons, and I think it's a shame.
Sure. Yeah. I also like Fall Harvest better than Fall into Love
Agreed.
because I beg you, Hallmark, please, can we take a break on love? Love is in all your movie titles practically.
Mhm.
We get it. It's,
Yeah.
romances. I love them too, but you know, can we tone it down
Get a
just a tad?
thesaurus. There's other words.
One year there was, I think, only 2 movies that didn't have love in the title. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, so there have been 47 by my count fall movies from Hallmark. And that includes all the Good Witch movies except for I don't think the Gift one was that one was that was like in between.
I
It
believe that's
wasn't
a Christmas
officially.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a Christmas movie, but most of the Good
Oh
Witch
no, the gift.
movies,
Oh yeah.
most of the Good Witch movies were considered in the fall lineup.
Right.
And
Yes.
and so from Good Witch Halloween onward, those ones are in there. And those ones I hadn't seen in a long time, so they're not. I kind of took them out, but they are officially on the list. But overall, would you say that it was a pretty good season for Hallmark fall?
For the majority of them, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I did love it. They don't do it much anymore, but for a time they were having some kind of Halloween sort of associated film, and it looks like we might be getting one of those this year with the
Yeah.
one with the ghost haunting the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to get back to that, like a little bit
Yeah.
more, fun with the
Mm-hmm.
supernatural element of it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, yeah, it's a lot of fall festivals. Um,
Yeah, and it's just something kind of cozy, and it's like it sort of gets you ready for Christmas.
right.
It gets you kind of you've got cider, and then you can move on to hot cocoa. gateway to count down to Christmas.
Yes.
Well, let's, like I said, we're gonna do our 3 worst, and then we're gonna do our 6 best. And if you want to be involved in the rankings, then become a member of our Patreon, because I post to the Patreon, and you get a chance. If you are listening to these ranking episodes every week and you're thinking these women don't know what they're talking about, join the Patreon, and then you can add your 2 cents into each of these ranking episodes. And let's I'd be interesting. I think we're gonna have quite a bit of overlap with this one. But what is your lowest of your worst 3?
Oh boy. I'm coming in hot, and I'm going to do Falling for Vermont.
Okay.
That
Yeah, this
stars
one was low for me. It was
that
low.
stars Julie Gonzalez and Benjamin Ayres. Basically, if you've seen the Christmas movie A Christmas to Remember that stars Cameron Matheson and Mira Sorvino, you have
Mhm.
seen this movie. They are almost exactly the same plot. Woman drives a car, successful woman. In this case, she is an author.
Mhm.
She drives a car, crashes, gets amnesia, moves in with a guy who takes in a complete stranger just because, and then he's got a kid, and boom, they fall in love, and then she remembers.
But for
Um,
some reason, I remember being more annoyed with this Falling for Vermont
it
because
is much more annoying than the Christmas movie.
I was more annoyed about
Iteration.
her boyfriend that she
Oh,
forgets. In the
yes.
I can't remember in the Mir Savina one if that's an element or if I don't know why that one it annoyed me more that she forgot her perfectly nice
Yeah, they also
boyfriend.
have that painting element too in the Christmas one where she meets the painter, I think.
Oh yeah.
But this one is like weird, and then she has flashbacks of her book that was made into a movie, and she doesn't know what she's remembering. And
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, I just do not like this movie. I
Yeah.
don't think that they have chemistry, and it's like I've already seen this movie. Like it's almost a carbon copy. Um, I mean, maybe they were in production at the same time. Who knows? But yeah, I do know people who like this movie, and I like the actors involved in it. I just don't think it works.
No. And it's like it wasn't sort of silly enough. If you're gonna do an amnesia plot,
Yes.
you need to go for it and be really silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my worst is one you mentioned on our worst of episode.
Mhm.
Uh it's the Love at Look Lodge.
Yeah, so that's not your number three.
Yeah, that's my worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was bad. It was one they only bought because it's
Mm,
the pandemic.
yeah.
And he's very annoying. You
Oh,
feel bad for her. The plot isn't good. Uh
why is she
Not
bending
much here to
over
go on.
backwards? I know.
Yeah.
Bending
It's
over backwards for these people.
no.
Ugh. Oh,
It's
and
awkward.
it's so awkward, and it looks. I'm sorry to say it, but it looks terrible. It's not a
Yeah.
good looking movie.
Mhm.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right, what do you have as your next worst?
Second, Follow Me to Daisy Hill.
Yeah.
With Cindy Busby and
Yeah.
Marshall Williams. They wet paint has more chemistry than they do together. And it's like, poor Cindy Busby. She's like, oh no, my store, is suffering. And of course, the high school ex-boyfriend is going to come in with his newfangled ways to save it. And she's like, no, we need to do this and that. And it's like, I fell asleep.
In this movie too, also the whole thing is done in this annoying sepia tone.
Oh my gosh.
That it was
Yes.
just like, okay, we get it. You're trying to be old fashioned or whatever.
Whoever color graded
Yeah, it's
that.
bad. It's
You
bad.
know what? They probably held it like they were holding their loved ones hostage. You're like, you must make this movie look this way, color grade it this way. And,
This whole thing, it looks like a Smucker's ad. You're just like, what?
and they were like, no, please don't hurt my family. I'll do it.
The only reason that's not in these bottom three, is because that scene where she drunk calls
Oh yes,
the
yes,
school
I
is
know.
so insane that I did find that kind of entertaining.
Oh man, but like,
You're
because
like, what?
yeah, this one this one had me too, and I think it has a Follow Me to Daisy Hill is it's Hallmark title, but it's known by another movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, another title
Yeah.
outside of it, but it's like, oh man, it took
Well,
me places. This movie, yeah.
well, my second one is one that has two of my favorite people. One of my, like, I think of her as a legitimate friend. Like we talk we text chat quite a bit. Um, it has Mary Lou Henner in it, who I love, and she's just the best. And it has Ashley Williams, who I also love, but they can't make me love on the Limb. I'm sorry,
Oh
I can't. I think this
no.
movie is so
This
annoying. I'm on the
is
side of the people who want to.
is so. I think what saves it for me is just how great Ashley Williams is in playing. Just she's trying.
It's too
Chaining
much.
yourself to a
It's even
tree.
for
It's
her.
just a
She
lot.
can't. She's like, oh
Yeah,
my
it's a
gosh,
lot.
just build the stupid building. Like, get rid of the tree. I don't care. Like,
It is a lot.
I'm on the side of the evil developers.
And I was like, I don't know about this, and she's got like she's sitting in a tree with a blanket, and Trevor Donovan is like, what is going on here? I do remember. I think I'm more forgiving of that one because it's a little bonkers, but
And I felt bad when we had Ashley on for her ranking.
oh no.
She was like, this was my idea. We executive produced it. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just not
I
for
think
me.
that,
I'm
yeah.
sure that they all had a great time and it was,
I think there's
other
a
people love it. It's
questionable.
just not for me.
Yeah, if I'm remembering it correctly, there is a questionable green screen moment in this movie. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
They can't all be winners.
I
What
get
are you
it.
gonna
I
do?
get
What are you gonna do?
it.
All right. What is your worst?
My worst is we've talked about this before, but Love at Look Lodge.
Yeah.
Like, lady, run. You don't have to be bending over to all these white people there that because she wants to be an event planner at this lodge, and I was like, no, run. You're in a horror movie.
Yeah,
Fun.
that one is the worst. I flipped
Yeah.
my order around, but whatever. But yeah, it is the worst. I think it barely counts as a Hallmark movie. It's so obviously an acquisition that
Yeah.
it barely counts, but it is technically.
Tough.
I think for we had to at least mention it in this bottoms portion. All of My Heart in Love, the second one. Because
Oh
people
no.
were, yeah,
Pearls have been clutched.
I know. I think the third one is a lot better. They learned, but we've talked about it a lot of times
It's the
with
same plot every movie. He's working too much or whatever.
yeah, but at least I don't know. The wedding was nice. I
Yeah, the
enjoyed
wedding
the
was nice.
wedding and the conflict with the long lost sister was okay.
Ugh.
But this one, it's just so unpleasant. It's such an unpleasant movie for a Hallmark movie. It's like the epitome of a bad Hallmark sequel of like everything
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
wrong. It is like
Agree.
the fact that they have them break up, the fact that they're like
Yeah.
unhappy for almost the entire movie, fighting, miserable. Then you have Ed Asner, who of course is wonderful, and you have the goats, which are wonderful, and so they're nice moments, but it's just the archetype of what not to do.
Exactly.
Like
And
we
it's
like
because
the reason why people fought for a sequel for so long is that we like these actors, we like these characters together. We don't want to see them immediately break up because he's working too much. Like,
well, he's got to afford that. That place is bleeding money.
Well, yeah, and it's like there's this old story where the native takes a snake at the top of the mountain, right? It gets down off the mountain and the snake bites him. And he says, "What did you do? I took you down from the mountain." And the snake says, "You knew what I was when you picked me up." And that's kind of how I feel about like so many times in plots.
Yeah.
Like, you knew what he was when you started dating him. You knew he was a
Yeah.
businessman. You knew what he was when you started. And
And
now
he
you're
had
expecting
to
him to
go.
be a
Yeah.
different person than he is.
But
And
he
that's
had to
not
go back to
fair.
work too. He had to go back to work to get some money, and they
Yeah.
were needing it. So
Like,
this is another be careful what you wish for.
yeah.
Because I don't think they should have ever made any sequels to this
No.
movie. I think the first All of My Heart just works perfect as is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Well,
think
I
they
mean,
need to make
and people
sequels
like
for
even just now, it wasn't Hallmark, but the red, white, and royal blue. People asking, "Oh, where are they? You wanted a sequel? Should there be a sequel?" And I was like, "No, no
No, leave
sequel.
it as is. Not everything needs
No."
a sequel.
Like, because it's just so hard to figure out what to do next in a
Yeah.
romantic story.
Yeah.
And
And
that's why romance novels, they always do the more spin-off variety where you
yep,
get to see
yes.
you get
It's
to see the
another
couple
couple.
from the
Yeah.
previous movie, but just like a little bit, like in and out. You're talking about and they tried to kind of do that with the Wedding March movies a little bit, but to varying degrees of success. But that approach is certainly better than trying to figure out what to do next with a couple that have come together in the first movie, because I mean, there's very few that have worked. I think the second the one with Peter Porte and Ali Liebert, I can't think of the name.
Why do that? You know
that
what
one was pretty good. I thought that sequel.
Yeah, but because I love the Cherished Memories so much. That was like one of my favorite holiday movies of that year that it came out.
Mhm.
And I didn't think the sequel was that bad, but I did laugh at these couple. They've been together for a couple of years, and she lives on the second floor, he lives on the third floor. And I was like, are we serious here? Are we serious?
No, that's true. That's true.
But I do think that movie barely works. But, you know.
So there've been a couple that have managed to claw their way, but for the most part, sequels do not work, and this is the prime example of what not to do. It is just depressing. It's such a bummer of a movie.
The only sequels that work were the Good Witch sequels, especially in its original. Like I call Good Witch 1.0 just the movies, and then Good Witch 2.0 with the series and their own movies. But it was just, you know, each character was evolving, and there was always a different storyline, like a standalone storyline, and they were just evolving with each iteration of the films, and those worked because it was just a fragment or a piece that you're looking into their lives. But it's you know, there was a romance blossoming between them, but it's like when you do an entire movie where they're already established and in love by the end, it's hard
and in those
to
Good
know
Witch movies, it was almost more the town.
Yes.
You know, and Cassie was just kind of the leader of the town.
It's more than just the love story.
So
and it's kind of hard. When you end in a good place, everyone. But see,
because all you have in a Hallmark movie, all you have is you can either have them get married and have a wedding movie or a baby movie.
Yes.
Or you have them break up, which all of that almost always sucks.
Right, but that's the problem with these sort of romance sequels in general. Like, you can't continue a story where they're still happy together. No, they have to break up. It has to be something silly to give them more friction.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think the Cherished Memories was one of the better ones, because they just had them like, oh, we're just planning a party.
We're just planning a party. We love each other. We're really being thoughtful with our holiday presents with each other. That's how it works. We don't have to break them up and essentially do the first movie over again. So I agree with you on that.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's our friend Jenny Hale. She has a new book coming out called Meet Me at Christmas. From the USA Today bestselling author of the book-to-TV stories Coming Home for Christmas and Christmas Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses, With over 1 million copies of her books sold, Jenny Hale brings you Meet Me at Christmas. This is a heartwarming holiday read that will have you rushing to your loved ones this Christmas. Traveling researcher Stella Fisher is called home to her family's farmhouse to help her mother through the first Christmas without her father. When Stella arrives, she doesn't expect to find Henry Dutton, the man she left behind. As she could guess after her heartbreaking exit so many years ago, he isn't speaking to her. What she doesn't realize, however, is there's a much bigger reason for his unfriendly reception. She quickly becomes the one person he believes can fix everything, but she isn't sure about that. She thought she'd buried her past, yet the look in his alluring blue eyes brings it all right back to the surface. If you enjoyed the Christmas movies based on Jenny's books and are looking for more feel-good small-town romance, look no further. You can find more about Meet Me at Christmas at it's jennyhale.com, at harpethroad.com, or use the affiliate link below.
Well, we're positive now. Let's talk about the good ones. And I'm not like married to my order here again. So whatever. But I'll start. My number 6 was our introduction in the world of Hallmark to Tyler Hynes, is Falling for You. I think it has a lot of really satisfying things about it. I think they have generally pretty good chemistry. And then I think the fact that she actually, spoiler alert, leaves the small town at the end is like kind of shocking.
Amazing. And they're making it work. She doesn't have to give up any career.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the lamest baking competition in the history of baking competitions.
But what about the font size of his coding on that iPad or whatever?
That's true.
Oh my gosh.
But I still think the kiss is great. And the fact that she didn't let it was like a little distraction or something, and she looks away and you think, oh, it's gonna be a near kiss during it all, and then she goes for it. I mean, all of Twitter went insane in 2018 when that happened.
Oh, totally.
Including myself.
The love affair with Tyler Hynes has continued to this day.
And it would be pretty high up there for me as far as his movies. I really enjoyed it. I liked his arc. I liked her arc.
This is his
it's a fun movie.
You know, he's clean shaven in this one. Very rare.
And I like that. Rare. I'm a fan.
I like him better with the
Oh, really? See, I mean, I'm not like I'm not somebody who gets real into, I don't really care, but,
like a good beard, you know?
But yeah, great supporting cast too. Madison Smith, who's a favorite of mine, is in this. Alison Wanzura, who we love, is in this. And it was fun because before this, we were like the first people to interview Tyler Hynes in this like space, at least. And to
go back to that moment of like when lightning struck for him.
And
I bet you he never even thought about it, like he would be.
Well, because he had done the 2 movies at the same back to back, and he actually did it's Christmas Eve or whatever filmed it first, and then did this. And when I was interviewing him, I thought this guy is an interesting choice for Hallmark. Like, he was super nice, like very friendly, but just his style and demeanor and just, I was thinking this is different. So I didn't know if it was going to work, if people are going to like it. And then of course
he was like fresh meat. They threw fresh meat to the Hallmarkies, to the fans, and they went for it.
And I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, that kiss was extremely memorable and really fun. So that's the one I have at 6. What do you have at 6?
My number 6 is one from last year. I'm not sure how fall-y it is, but it's Romance in Style.
Yeah, I have that on mine too. It was kind of weird last year, whereas this year they had August be a part of Summer Nights. Last year they had Summer Nights in June, and they had Fall into Love in August, so it was all messed up.
And then they went into September too. Crazy. Anyway,
they only really had one movie last year that was like fall themed. Well, I guess 2. They had The Autumn in the City, which I enjoyed more than most, and then The Pumpkin Everything.
So I do like this movie because is very positive on, like, I don't even think JC Elliott, like, it's supposed to be plus size fashion and full figured women. I don't even think JC Elliott is that, you know,
Mhm.
like, she looks
Well, like
good to
in
me, like,
it's the reason why it worked, and he
yeah,
actually I did a whole recap. I'm not sure when
yeah,
will it air in relation to this episode,
mhm,
but I did a whole recap of it with Kelsey Stelty, who writes the Curvy Girl books. That's
yeah,
going to air sometime in the next month. So I just rewatched it and just talked about it. And the thing that makes it work, at least for me, is that she's in fashion. So
yes,
that is a
right.
different world than like the world you and I are like in our world. JC is not plus size. She's
No, it's
completely normal.
exactly,
But in
yeah,
the world of fashion and
fashion,
we're dealing with, supermodels
totally,
and
yeah.
stuff, then yes, yes.
But what's so
Um,
refreshing too is she's not a sad sack, you know,
yeah.
like,
And
she's confident
yeah.
and has,
And
goes
he is
for
so
it.
swoon worthy in that
Oh,
movie.
he
He,
is.
from the very minute he sees her, he's into her and he's
He's
impressed with her.
totally
And
into it.
it
It's
was
so
very
much.
tricky because he's her boss. And so they had to be very careful about how they wrote it because you don't want it to get creepy.
Right.
And, and
He's so
they
supportive of
did a
her
good job with it.
ideas,
Yeah.
and then the mean boss lady,
Yeah. She was
which I
great.
thought
Laura
was very
Siltis. I
realistic.
loved
But
her.
yeah, she works in a fashion. I thought it was the most realistic
Yeah.
thing about
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
But I do like it, and I was
So
hoping
good.
that it would also open up like Hallmark's um, more diversity in size,
Hmm.
in looks of people. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you watch a show and everybody's blonde or brunette and they look the
Hmm.
exact same way. Like, more various
Yeah. Well,
people
they
of
have
different,
used JC at
yes, they
least one
have,
other
and it's
time, and
great.
there's
And
more coming.
yeah,
And they had they have had a few things, but some of
yeah,
it's been done poorly and some of it's been done well. I also liked how she genuinely looked high fashion. Her clothes
totally. And the
were
clothes that she made were
mhm,
so nice looking. I mean,
really
I was like,
good.
yes,
Yeah.
they put her
eh,
together, like it's very enjoyable, and I
Yeah.
just love the chemistry that they do have, and I do love how
So
that
good.
he's more into her than she is to him,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
yeah, and she's the one that's insecure, and she does something to like he has a legit cause. Sometimes the conflict is so weak
Yeah.
that a 5-minute conversation would solve it, but he has a legit reason to be annoyed with her and upset with
Oh,
her.
yeah.
So the conflict felt really earned,
Yep,
and that makes the ending all the more sasatisfying.
yep,
I agree. You'll see I
yeah.
have it, but I really
Mhm.
well, my number 5 is one
Wait,
that
did you do your number 6?
yes, so my number 6 was Falling for You.
Oh, that's right, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So my number 5 is one I feel like I liked way more than everybody else, but whatever. It's Game Set Love, and maybe part of it is because I don't care about tennis. I don't know anything about tennis. It doesn't matter to me at all. I could care less. So like all the tennis stuff, which is probably way inaccurate and bad and stupid, I didn't care about that. I thought they had great chemistry. I really bought them together. And I thought there were some really good swoon worthy moments when they're dancing. They have a really early kiss in this. I was totally into that. I mean, some of the plot with like his parents and some of the stuff, it wasn't the best, but just the stuff that worked to me really worked. And I thought I really loved Richard Harmon. I thought he was great, and I would love for him. I don't think he is doing more, but I would sure love to see him do more because I thought he was really good. And
Yeah, I think he won a Leo award for this movie,
oh, did he?
like a Canadian, like,
Oh, that's
acting
cool.
award, yeah,
I just really loved them, and I thought it had some very swoon-worthy scenes.
yeah.
So it was
I
my
think
number
I just
5.
realized that I did not see this movie.
Oh,
I
really?
just realized it right now. There are sometimes I'll admit, sometimes I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that movie." Somebody talks about it, I was like, "No, I didn't." But sometimes I lose
Well,
track of my Hallmark movies.
I was just surprised when we did our best of Hallmark non-Christmas episode, and I think Michelle had been on the regular recap with that, and we both loved it, and the fall recap, and so when I did the best of, I can't remember who it was that was on that one, but I remember both of them being like, "What? You have that?" Like really surprised. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I loved it. I thought it was
Hey.
great." And but I think that people that care more about tennis or know about tennis, or I think Carrie was on that one. I can't remember, but anyway, people who know about and care about tennis probably wouldn't like it as much, but I
Sure.
don't. So I loved it. I thought it was great. So, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Dating the Delaney's
Okay,
from
yeah,
last year.
that was fun.
I like this one because Rachel Boston and Paul Campbell have such good chemistry together.
Mhm.
And this one's funny because it's like 3 generations of this family like dating.
Mhm.
It's more focused on Rachel and Paul, and they're, and she has a totally crappy ex-husband who's like, "Oh, did my
Yeah.
money buy for this
Well,
bakery?" Like, and she's trying to get on a show to advertise to make, to get more people to come to her bakery, and and she's divorced and he's, divorced too, and they're dating, and the mom's grandma's getting some too, and the teenage daughter and her own stuff, and I liked it.
mhm.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I particularly loved Casey Manderson in
Oh,
that
yes.
movie.
Yeah,
I thought
yes.
as the bad date, he was so funny. I was disappointed that he didn't get picked for
Yeah.
supporting our Hallmarkies award because I thought he was really, really funny.
Yeah.
And that was probably as close as we'll ever get to a Hallmark movie like acknowledging the pandemic. Like he didn't really, but the whole thing where he sends her I think it's Chinese food,
Yeah.
that felt very pandemic-y, COVID-y
Yeah.
to me, and we would be like sending each other care packages, and I don't know. I think that's about as close as we'll ever get to like, I
I
don't know.
can understand why they don't wanna touch it. Like, I think I could watch a movie set in the pandemic right now, but when it was going on and when it was first over, I was like,
Sure,
"I
sure.
don't want to watch anything with that."
Yeah,
Just
yeah, last year
yeah.
I had a moment where I was like, "You know what? I think I'm ready to
Yeah.
process this whole
Yeah.
experience through my art." And there've been like some thrillers and most of them terrible and a few other things. There's a really cute movie that's just coming out called Flora and Son, which is by director John Carney, and that is a very COVID-y movie, but it's
Yeah.
charming, very cute with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's one to check out. But yeah, um, that's a fun one. Well, number 4 is where I have Romance and Style. I
Okay.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was very swoon worthy and very well written. And I thought JC just did such a good job of creating a compelling, believable, like, because I think that often you don't get that combination of strength and insecurity that most human beings have.
Right.
Most people have, like, for me, I'm pretty extroverted, pretty bold person, except for when it comes to dating, and I turn into this like quiet, shy, awkward, that's probably why I'm still
Right.
single person. And that's the way most humans are. And I thought she captured that very well with her character. She wasn't just like I don't know, a cliche.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Yeah. All right. What do you have it for?
Truly, madly, sweetly.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And this one I really like. It has Nikki DeLoach, who I always like, and Dylan
Mhm.
Neal. And she's like a food truck. She's got a food truck.
Yeah.
Food trucks were all the rage at this point. And they inherit some kind of property. They both have an equal piece of it. And she wants to make a bakery, and he wants to sell it. And then She's like, I'll buy you out, and they team together, and it's basically just them falling in love while they're putting together this bakery.
Mhm.
And I think Dylan Neal and his wife developed this movie, and it's like a lot of fun. They have good chemistry,
Mhm.
and it's just
Don't they
sweet,
have a
you know.
classic coffee spill meetup in that one?
Yes,
Meet cute.
yeah, yeah, by the food
Coffee.
truck, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, which is funny, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
it's like
remember that one
it's
being cute.
yeah, yeah. It's like old school. It's still old school Hallmark at that point, but also a little bit more going into
Mhm.
the newer direction,
Yeah.
a little
Well, my
fresher.
number 3 is Pumpkin Pie Wars is my number 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of Nina Weinman's best scripts. It's pretty classic, you know, your sort of Romeo and Juliet of the pumpkin pie world, of the baking world. These two mothers that were friends, and then
They
they and
were
they
not playing around
yeah, then they
up in
had this
there. A
riff
few.
between them. And I do think it's funny how it turns out the dads have been playing golf behind
Oh
everybody's
yeah.
back. uh,
Yeah, because the moms have been feuding for years, right?
Yes. And
Yes.
then I think the one mom gets injured, and so the daughter has to help, and they get involved in there's this pie contest, and
Yeah.
so they end up
They
working
gotta hide their
together.
growing feelings, yeah, from
Yeah.
each other so their moms don't get mad.
Yeah. It's just really cute, I think, and
Yeah.
a pretty good example of this kind of story
Yeah.
for this kind of movie.
Yep.
So, what do you have at 3?
Autumn Dreams.
Ooh.
I do miss Jill Wagner Hallmark movies, but this
Uh-huh.
one is very. It's basically it's Jill Wagner and Colin
Mhm.
Eaglesfield. No,
Yeah.
I don't have his
Mhm.
name. I wrote his name wrong in my notes, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Egglesfield, I think it is. And I just love it because they were in love as teenagers, and they eloped, and her dad makes them divorce, and then he leaves, and the dad hides all the letters, and basically years have passed by. She's on the farm. They're both engaged,
See,
and
that's
then
where this movie
realize,
loses me. I feel
yeah.
so bad for her fiance who's like perfectly
Oh,
nice
I
and
know.
like it's
Yeah.
brutal. It's
It's brutal
brutal.
because they don't know that they're still married, because she was under the impression that her father filed that paperwork. And really her father was, you're gonna force these guys apart and then keep, like, you know what? They'll never get divorced. I feel bad now. I mean, it was ridiculous. That
Yeah.
aspect is ridiculous. But them meeting
Just
up in
feel
court,
so bad for
I
her
know. But them,
fiance.
yeah, but them meeting up in court, you know, after
Mhm.
seeing each other, they haven't seen each other for years. They don't know. They just think they stopped talking to each other with the letters, but the dad's hiding it. And Maddie Finocchio like plays his lawyer, and it's like, don't worry, I'll get it taken care of. I'll get it taken care of. And she's like, you're getting married, this weekend, but she's engaged too. So it's just it's really funny how they
Yeah.
work that out, and then they find out like, no, I wrote you and you didn't get it. And I kind of like this movie because he's super rich. She's a
Mhm.
farmer, and spoilers. This movie came out in 2015, so spoilers here. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna quit my job and live with you. I got money. I can live on this farm with you. It'll be all right. Like, I'm okay with it. Like
Yeah.
which is probably what I would do too. Like, I'll have early retirement. I got enough money. But his
Yeah.
lawyer just running around going, no, 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 I'll take care of this. I'll take care of this. Like being flustered and all this other stuff. Those aspects were really funny. And I think
Yeah.
they had good chemistry. And man, I just remember watching this and just like at that moment falling in love with like Jill Wagner and her Hallmark movies, and
Mhm.
really liking her as an actor, because I thought she fits so well, and with
Yeah.
in the films. And it's just like it's old school, but it's like one of my favorites.
Mhm. Yeah, if I was going, I think I would probably go with a Harvest Wedding if I was going
Right.
Jill
Yeah.
Wagner. But yeah, I get it. Well, my number 2 is Harvest Moon is
Hmm.
my number 2. It would be up there, I think, in favorite Hallmark movies, non-Christmas should be pretty high.
Right.
I really like the story. I really like Jesse's performance, both Jesse's performance
Right.
is I like
Oh.
Lila as the daughter. She's a favorite of mine. It has a heart to it. It's a character. Jesse Schramm's character
Yeah.
is a character that could be very unlikable, but because she's so wealthy and kind of ditzy at the beginning,
Well,
but
was wealthy.
yeah, exactly. And but there's immediately, I think, pretty early on, there's a warmth to her, and that I think really is endearing. And I think Jesse Hutch is really good in it as well. As your sort of farmer, hunky farmer.
Oh, yeah.
And
When she's trying to take this with a selfie with the selfie stick in the pumpkin patch.
I think it's very well written and very well
It
made.
is.
It's a very
She's
good one.
like rich and bratty to a point, but like she's more than that. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a surface level. And then like her rich friends are like, "Ooh, you're poor, ew,"
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it too.
It's a Ron Oliver script, and his almost always deliver.
Yeah.
And Peter DeLuise directing again. He also did Pumpkin Pie. Or no, he didn't. That's a different one. He is a very good Hallmark director.
Oh, totally. His
and
like he's got a wealth of like really solid Hallmark.
he did Falling
movies.
for You. That's the one. He did Falling
Yeah.
for You. Yeah, he's really good. So it's one of my favorites. What do you have it to?
I have Love, of Course, which has a
That one's
hunky
good.
farmer, hunky scientist, hunky college teacher.
Yeah.
And it stars Kelly Rutherford and Cameron Matheson. I love this movie. It's like
it's a really good one.
I wish Kelly Rutherford would do more kind of Hallmark movies. But like she's sending her daughter to college. She's a widow. She doesn't have like her whole life revolves around that. She's very like, oh my gosh, the way she makes those muffins, like she's very perfect, but she doesn't have much to do with her daughter going to college. And then she sticks around to help put together the fall harvest festival, and then gets her flirt on with Cameron Matheson, and her daughter is like, wait, what is going on here? What are you doing here? And her daughter surprised her mom. And then, I like, it's like it's a movie too about adults entering a different stage of life.
Yeah.
And finding something new, a new passion. Like she gets to work and they have great chemistry. And it's the era of the hunky farmer, but also he was like the hunky scientist as well. Trying better the farming techniques. He's also a college professor,
That's true. The scientific farmer. He
Yeah,
had like
so,
Ryan. You
yes.
had Ryan Pavey doing the fancy pears, and you had Victor Webster. He was like doing some fancy shenanigans.
Yes, with the corn in a harvest wedding.
Yeah, that's true. Even in Harvest Moon, you got this this miracle pumpkin cream.
Yes, which will make her rich again.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, my number one, I think it'll be it might be it might be your number one, I don't know, but is October Kiss is my number
Absolutely.
one. Yeah,
it's mine as well.
Yeah, I mean,
you cannot.
If Ashley Williams is mad at me for having Love on the Limb in the worst part, and hopefully she'll forgive me, because this is peak Ashley Williams.
So great.
She's so charming. She's so
the Halloween movie too.
Yeah, likable, endearing, and this movie pulls off something that I normally hate: the overworked dad trope, which I normally hate,
Right.
And then also the moment where he's giving the big presentation where he realizes, oh, I've got to stop and make it to
I gotta go trick or treating.
Yeah, to the recital / event or whatever, and I hate that because I mean, parents have to work hard.
Sometimes they miss stuff.
Like, it works great in Mary Poppins. Let's move on. I don't want to see it. Like, I hate it. But this, because he pretty much finishes the presentation, and then he's like to I think Fiona Vroom, or I think it was her, and
Amanda
he's like,
Fergun, I think.
Oh, Amanda Fergun, yeah. That he's like,
oh,
here's my colleague who's equally qualified and ready to go, and she's going to finish this off, and then I'm going to go.
I loved how thirsty that character was in that movie.
Yeah.
Where she was so thirsty for him. It's great. And I think it works for him because he knows that he is not perfect. He's
Mhm.
trying and
Yeah.
he knows it, and he's like, I gotta do better. But they have such great chemistry, and it's
Yeah.
so much fun because they dress up for Halloween and
And Ashley's energy just works so well
so
in
well for
creating
this. Yeah,
the costumes, the homemade costumes,
yeah,
the why these kids just love her so much.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And I don't know, it's one of the best, no
One of
question.
the best. It still holds up. I try to watch it every year. It's
Mhm.
definitely a classic. It's back from 2015. Sometimes the Hallmark Channel stops airing movies at a certain date. Like they'll
Yeah.
do like up to 3 years and then they stop. This is one that they regularly play because
Mhm.
it's so beloved.
They even did the novelization, and
Yes,
that's
which
how
I
popular it
read. I
is.
recommend
Mhm.
people to read that because that is
Yeah.
also fun.
Mhm.
It's basically the movie, but it gets a little like
Yeah.
little extra pieces from when they're not on camera, and then there's more stuff at the end. What
Oh,
happens
okay.
after they get together? There's a little bit of that,
I
which
just
is fun.
love that his homemade costume is the knight in shining
I
armor, and then
know,
he comes. It's so cute.
so cute. She's a
I
mermaid. It's so great.
I do feel like this is one of those movies that if you don't appreciate on some level this movie, it's just not
Yeah,
the genre for you.
it
Like
is
this
not.
is peak. And
Oh, and I also loved it when they're sitting on the porch and he thinks she's coming in for a kiss, but she's just grabbing the keys.
oh yeah.
Yes, and
Yes.
when they're playing football, it's
Yes.
great. There's so
And
many
he's so
great.
sad
Oh,
when she's left and he
yeah.
just feels so
Oh,
bad for
yeah.
him.
But I love also Miranda Frigan. I wish that she would have gotten a lead in a Hallmark movie. I don't know why she hasn't, but
Yeah.
she shows up in that dress and she getting herself. And she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna work together." I loved how thirsty she was for him in this movie, or like, well, she's like, "Hey, this makes sense that we could hook up or whatever," and it's so great. And the way Ashley Williams just looks at her, going, "All right, lady, you can have him if you want."
Yeah. Yeah, I think the closest she's ever gotten is probably in that Cookie movie. She was like a co-lead.
Oh, with Aaron Crab, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And then, of course she's in all the Aurora movies, but
And
she's
she's in that. I can't remember the name of it. They tried to make it a fall movie, but it's really a summer movie with Jessica Lowndes.
oh yeah, that was
Yeah, she's her
bad. That was a
boss or
bad
whatever
one.
like that. Yeah,
Well, there we go. That is so let's see. Yeah, that's our number one. So
yeah,
we both have
yeah.
it. Very good. Uh well, let me see what the patrons have. Okay. So Becky, and I didn't give the patrons, I have to admit, I didn't give them that much time on this one, so sorry. But Becky Schimmer, she has Harvest Moon, Harvest Love, Pumpkin Pie Wars, and October Kiss on her list. She says, I watch all of these every year. Honestly, these are four of my favorite Hallmark movies of all time. Any season, Hallmark desperately needs to bring back fall harvest in a real way. I miss the massive piles of orange leaves and pumpkins and cozy sweaters and hot cider. I'll
Yep.
also add, I was so lucky to get to see a preview of Field Day this summer. And when that officially airs, that will go into the fifth slot. I loved it so much. And I have to agree. The Field Day was outstanding. I don't know if it would make this top 5, but probably it was really good. And so it was another crackerjack script from Shirley Sherman Wolf. And I think people will really like it. I hope. And because I also got to see it at Christmas Con. Our friend Anne says, my top ones are no particular order: Under the Autumn Moon, Falling for You, Harvest Wedding, Pumpkin Pie Wars. So there we go. Very good. Well, make sure if you want to be part of our ranking episodes that you join the Patreon and be a part of it. It's a really fun way to be more involved in the community and to support the podcast, and we sure appreciate it. And you can be part of these ranking episodes. And Terry, where can people find you?
At Twitter, at Flurry Heaven.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Pod, and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. 5 stars. It really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube aren't subscribed. And so if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. So thank you so much for that. And like I said, check out the Patreon and the merch store. We got some Hallmark inspired merch. Please take a look at that. And thanks so much. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.